Hey guys, welcome back. This is Aaron. So, Brian Wilson, Beach Boys co-founder, has just recently passed on at the age of 82. May he rest in peace. I think he was one of the best male pop singers at one point in time. Many thoughts on his and the band's musical output are in my Beach Boys album ranking video, link in the description. But I've mentioned somewhere, can't remember where, that despite listening to and ranking their 28 main albums, I had some unfinished business, and that was to listen fully to the Smile Sessions album. This was also a good chance for me to do something non-reaction based again. So for this video I'll be covering the main CD, the main 19 tracks. This is the portion without any repeats or alternate takes, and just feels like the most like an actual album. It's been a long time coming, so let's get into this. Subscribe at the end if you like this video. Track 1 on this album is Our Prayer. For me, this is a wonderfully pleasant a cappella but wordless intro to the album. Befitting the title, it sounds very churchy. It could almost be many different ensembles of singers, but it has that distinct sound of Brian's high voice in the 60s over top of everything else, really connecting it to their signature sound. Just a really beautiful intro to the album. Track 2 is G. This is a fun, bouncy, again almost a cappella tune, but has that harpsichord, which is a very typically psychedelic instrument. Makes you kind of realise even the free-spirited, cerebral kind of sound of psychedelia had certain formulas to it here and there. That ending horn part is really cool, commands your attention. Track 3 is Heroes and Villains. This is one of the best songs of the 60s in my opinion, much more of a full arrangement here of course. It has those creative tempo and mood shifts, but always brings back a sense of catchiness with that descending melodic pattern. This is slightly different than the version on Smiley Smile, but unless you listen to the song quite a bit, you might not even catch that. Anyway, really good. Like I said, I think this is one of the best songs of the decade. Track 4 is Do You Like Worms? Roll Plymouth Rock, in brackets. This one is very distinct. I like it, but I wouldn't want to listen to it during a bad trip, not that I personally go on trips, or during a bad time in general. There's a tremendous feeling of anxiety about it at certain points. It sort of sounds like a dark twin of like the music on Today or Pet Sounds. Similar production value, but again extremely different and again much darker in mood. Great song though. I guess I could also say I wouldn't want to hear it in a nightmare. Track 5 is I'm in Great Shape / Barnyard. Both of these are so short I'll sort of assess them together. I'm in Great Shape takes me to kind of a bedroom feel, at least to start, and then Barnyard turns into a short whimsical piece with some lightly comedic animal noises, including sheep and someone talking like Donald Duck. Much lighter in mood than Roll Plymouth Rock, feels rather like an intermission. Track 6 is You Are My Sunshine / The Old Master Painter. This medley is very cool. The typical style of the first song, despite sad lyrics, has quite a major key, sunny type of tune. This version with Dennis I think messes with the chords and perhaps adds expectedly a dreamy haze to it. Reminds me of how the song could sound inside a dream where it's recognisable but sounds a little warped. The Old Master Painter has a slightly pastoral sound which is different for this album. I wouldn't say it was the most interesting piece on here so far, but it's fine. Track 7 is Cabin Essence. This one also got released in some form during the late 60s, early 70s I think, I can't quite remember. I might commit blasphemy. This follows some similar ideas to Roll Plymouth Rock, but I don't think this leans as heavily into the slightly horrific sound of that song, which makes it a little bit less distinct. I think the arrangement sounds slightly more elaborate in some ways, but yeah, Roll Plymouth Rock is slightly more my jam. Not that this is bad, of course. Track 8 is Look, Song for Children, in brackets. So, I did say during the album rankings that at times I did get slightly tired at the odd point of Brian employing a similar bouncing rhythm in a lot of his songs from around 1965 California Girls onwards. And as I listen to compositions largely made during this particular era, that does rear its head. But this is fine, neither the most or least distinct thing on here. Track 9 is Child as Father of the Man. Blending into this song from the previous one, at points that bouncing rhythm does pound a fair bit, which works well. I hear a bit of a Lee motif in common with Good Vibrations. This one also juxtaposes the bounce by blending into a section with a quieter, more relaxing style, which is cool. Track 10 is Surf's Up. This is a good one. I see why it's such a fan favourite. It's not like it would have done very well on the radio, but the range Brian shows keeps a sort of distinct hook to the song and makes you remember the overall feel of it. In context of the album, the piano focus is also a little different. It's mostly been harpsichord to this point. I'd have to listen to the Surf's Up album title track version of this to tell you which version I like better, but I think the feel of the song, whichever version you listen to, remains very much intact. Track 11 is I Wanna Be Around / Workshop. I don't think there's any need to pretend there's anything too essential or genius about this one. It's a sound collage of sorts over bouncy repeated notes, but it's a fine little intermission, too short really to skip. Track 12 is Vegetables or Vegetables as it's titled, stylistically speaking. I didn't love Smiley Smile overall, but I think, don't quote me, I found this one of the better songs off it. It's been a while since I've heard the Smiley Smile version in terms of comparing them, but this is definitely worthy of being a lengthier track on this album. Good stuff. Track 13 is Holidays, a rather easygoing instrumental with a pretty upbeat mood. Kind of has the distinct bounce, but embellishes that at times by adding an extra measure to the rhythm. Track 14 is Wind Chimes. Carl finally gets a really good showcase on this album vocally. It's cool how the wooden percussion suggests the song's title. On Smiley Smile, I don't remember it transitioning to those fuller band sections, but I could be wrong. If it had stuck straight with the main Carl solo vocal part, this almost could have gone on to one of their more mainstream albums, at least the few post-64 ones before they went full psychedelic, just in my opinion. Track 15 is The Elements, Fire, or Mrs. O'Leary's Cow in brackets. I like this quasi-instrumental a lot. It's got a psychedelic, quite blanketing sound of course, but importantly for me at this stage of the album, it avoids the temptation of doing the bounce. It has this almost tribal sounding drumming and sound effects that sound kind of liquid despite the song title. This is almost quite Wiccan in its sound. Really cool. Track 16 is Love to Say Dada. It's not bad, but despite this album being called the Smile Sessions, which could provide a clue, I'd also say this is one of the few songs on this album that doesn't sound fully finished. It sounds like there were meant to be a few more elements composed and added to this. On the other hand, it's placed quite ideally because the final track is so famous and familiar that it kind of overshadows it pretty quickly. The final track is Good Vibrations. Alright, this is pretty much the version we all know, but it's a bit lengthened and there are some additional backing vocals heard on this version during the Gotta Keep Those Lovin' Good Vibrations part. That alone makes this version worth checking out, just to hear a variation on it without the version we're so used to being changed too much. And there goes the main portion of the Smile Sessions. So that was the Smile Sessions. Overall, obviously very compelling as a listen. The main songs, many of which were very well known already of course, were supported by some very good intermissions, instrumental pieces and other oddities. This album to at least hear once is essential for fans of the band or particularly Brian's artistry. For my own listening, I did have this on CD already although it lay dormant, but I don't think this would get more play than most of the albums I'd have put in their top 10. Sonically it's great. It's very artful, cerebral, but I wouldn't say it's music for the heart like my personal favourite Beach Boys albums and songs. The songs on here impress me but don't really bring out that emotional response I enjoy from my favourites of theirs, except maybe Roll Plymouth Rock for a uniquely sort of anxious listen. Nonetheless, I could see how this one would be more the jam of certain types of music listeners, and I very much doubt this will be the last time I play at least these primary tracks. I'd give this a 4 out of 5. I think on a technical level it deserves it. Once again, rest in peace Brian. Thanks for watching guys. I'll see you next time.